Hey everybody. So today we got a couple fresh skiving knives. So I figured Weaver sells these and they're really good value. They work really well. This is the one I use the most and they're really sharp, and this is the only tool that I just like kind of cut myself with when it's just on the workbench. So it's good to make a sheath. So I made up a few patterns for these specific knives, and they're free on the Weaver website. It'll be first link in the description, and we're going to walk you through making a couple of them. I'm going to do, this is the medium size knife. I'm going to do the big knife, and we'll do that with a strap. You don't have to, but we'll do a strap closure on that one, and then this one we'll just do a regular little slip sheath. So if you want to make along, pattern is first link in the description. Alright, so I'm going to use, this is some Herman Oak veg tan. Every once in a while you'll get a hide that isn't, because we live everything natural. So anything with like marks and stuff, I don't like to send out to customers, but they're great for making tools like this. So this is, I think it's like 4 or 5 ounces. And so I'm just going to cut off a little chunk here, and we'll make our stuff out of this. So I'm just going to trace the patterns out here. With the smaller one, doesn't have any notches in it, you can just trace 2. With the ones with the notch in it, this is here to, if you want to do a closure, or if you don't do one, the knives kind of angle up, so it just kind of goes with the shape of the blade. But just make sure that you don't trace 2 like this. You want to trace 1 like this, and then flip it so that they can go together. It's really the only notes for tracing out this pattern. Alright, so now that we have these cut out, I can kind of show you how this is going to work. We're going to have our top and bottom of the sheath, of course. And you could just sew 2 pieces together like this. The reason I'm putting this liner in is because these knives are very sharp. So when we slide this knife in, if we didn't put this liner in, there's a chance that we could go too far and it would just cut the stitching. When we put this little, and I know this has a real name, I don't make a lot of knife sheaths, I know this has a real name and I know I'm not saying it, so I apologize. But with this little spacer here, when we put the knife in, I've sized these so that it's going to be like 1 millimeter from the edge, and the bottom's going to hit the heel of the knife first. But if it does happen to go past it, it'll hit the leather, it won't hit the stitching. So that's on both of these. What I'm going to do though is, on this one, it's full thickness here, and then I skive it down so that we do get a nice tight fit at the base. So I'm going to go through now and I'm just going to skive the ends of these 2 spacers so that when we glue this together, it'll kind of slim down to just be the 2 layers of leather at the bottom and hold nice and tight to the base of the knife. So we're going to glue the spacers in like this, but first we're going to just finish the bottoms, because once these are glued in, you can kind of finish the bottom, but I want to burnish all the way to the edge here and then wrap the thread around it like that. So we're just going to go through and do a light, we're going to bevel and burnish. This one you just have to pick which part you want to be the bottom. These I'm going to use the angled parts, of course, and we'll get that done first and then we'll glue these in. So once we've burnished these little ends here, it's time to glue in the liners. Now the one thing is, if you're going to do a strap closure, like this with a button or whatever, make sure you put your male end, attach it to the sheath, because you're not going to be able to do it once we glue everything and sew it up. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a set of calipers. This is a 1/4 inch wide, so I'm just going to make sure that that's about a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to flip these over and I'm going to mark a little line on the inside, and this is just going to be to give me some guidance for gluing so that I don't kind of glue too far into the sheath itself. And I'm going to do this on both of these, and then once we have this marked out, we're going to glue both the sheath and one side of the spacer itself. We're going to go in now and glue these little spacers in. I like to start at the top here, and the most important thing is you want to make sure that your edges line up on the outside. So I'm just going to go around very carefully, just go slow. Once we have that, and now we can start to see how these are going to work, right? So we're going to have our knife is going to sit right in there, and the heel is going to stop it from cutting into our seam there. Okay, so now we're just going to do this one. All we have to do now is put a little bit of glue on this because we've glued these seams and we can stick everything together. But before that, what I'd suggest is going with your calipers that you're going to use to set your stitch line and just make sure that they're landing, it's landing right in the middle of this so that you're not going off into the center. So we're good. So now all I'm going to do is just glue up around here. So I'm not going to do a closure on this one, but I'm going to do a strap closure like this on this one. And what I did was I made, this is just a 3/4 inch strap. I didn't include it in the pattern. You can do however wide you want. You can do a different type without a snap. This is just a brass glove snap. So if you see on the back here, what I did was it just wraps around. I like that because you can see if you use natural veg tan, you can see how it ages and stuff. Just kind of fun to have in the shop. So what I'm going to do to get this positioned correctly is I'm going to put my knife in my sheath, and that fits nice. I'm going to attach the button, right? Then I'm going to fold it over, and I'm just going to put it where I want it, and I'm putting it right in the corner here. You can put it up here. You could probably put it like in the center if you want. If you're doing this style, you could do it like all the way over here if you wanted to, but I like the way that it sits just in the corner like this. So once that's like that, I'm going to bring this over here, and I'm just going to use a pencil to mark this so that I can trim it. There we go. So I'm going to cut that and I'm going to glue it here. Now I've sanded these down already a little bit, but I'm not going to do any edging or rounding of corners or burnishing until this is attached. And I'm actually not going to do anything until I stitch it up. But I would do a quick sand to level everything before you attach any closure. And then after everything's stitched in, we'll go through and do a final sand, we'll edge it, and we'll burnish it. Once we have this glued in, I'm going to mark my stitching on the back, and the reason is that on the front is just kind of plain. I could just stitch all the way around. On the back I have this strap, so I want to mark my stitches here and punch them here, because then I can make sure that I'm not splitting these seams and everything is nice and even. So before I do any more sanding, I'm just gonna do a little clip on these edges, and then I'll round them over with a little piece of sandpaper. I don't want to do a rounded, like a curved edge. I just want to take this sharp part off because it'll kind of fold over and look weird over time. And you can kind of, if you want to whittle away at it a little bit, I usually just do a small diagonal cut, like 45, and then I do the rest with sandpaper. So I'll go in now and just work that edge to round it off. And that's specifically important in these because they're just going to be kind of floating around the workbench, and they're going to be like bumping into things and stuff. If that was just a sharp tip, it would kind of fold over time and not really look that good. But once we round it and we use our bevel the edges and get it all nice and burnished, this one's about 1.5 years old, and you can see it only gets shinier over time because there's no sharp edge to hit the corners with. And here we go. So I just hit these with some of the Skiving's Aussie leather conditioner, just like a wax paste, and we'll just put these all on, and they fit really nice. And remember, so you can get these patterns all for free, just first link in the description on Weaver's website. And the other thing is you can kind of see, so this one's about 1 year old, and we're using the Herman Oak Natural Veg, and you can see just how beautiful the color is between the two. This one you can see where the strap is. It just gets such a nice dark brown color over time. And the set looks really nice together. And these are good. You want to just make sure with these knives, they're so sharp. Like I said earlier, they're floating around the bench. The only thing I've ever cut myself on is these knives, and not even using them, just because I lost track of where they were. They didn't have a sheath on them, and I just catch my finger on it or something. But there we go. So hope you like this one, and we'll see you in the next one.